everyone. Welcome to Wednesday night OWCP Chats with Chris and Gini live in Chicago at our new franchise location and with Dr. Steve Archileo.
That's my turn?
Yeah.
Well, normally she says with Chris and Gini, and I'm Chris, so everyone should know that I'm not Gini. Let's introduce Dr. Archileo. We're just going to turn this. There he is. Say hello, Dr. Archileo. Okay.
And you thought I was bad.
So Dr. Archileo has agreed to join federal injury centers, and we've already started the training. We're more than 2 weeks in, and we've already got cases that we're working up here, writing narratives for, so we're really excited about that. If you're in the Chicago area, this is where you need to be if you have a federal work injury. So with that said, everybody go to Twitter, follow us at Fed Injury Center on Twitter. Nobody has Twitter. There are 2.9 million federal employees, and we have 830 Twitter followers. So nobody gets on Twitter. I used to use that as a way to give information out that's helpful, useful, and now we have the book. So if anybody's interested in the book, it's at www.breakingowcp.com. Tonight we're going to be talking about the CA-10, what a federal employee should do when injured at work. I've got one here. Everybody can go to our website at federalinjurycenters.com and get a copy of your own. All you got to do is click on the OWCP Forms tab, and you can print all the CA-10s that you want. What you need to do is take it to work and post it on your bulletin board in your break room. People are nervous about doing that. They wonder, is this something I can post? At the bottom of the page, it says post on employee's bulletin board. So it's definitely okay to do that. If someone takes it down, supervisors, put it right back up. Just keep copies and keep putting it up. This form you're going to see is going to be very important in getting your claim approved ultimately. Before we started this live feed, what we were talking about is that there's 3 reasons why claims don't get accepted. One is because some doctor wrote a bad report. Okay, and that's most common. But another thing that happens is people are scared. Okay, so that's the second thing. They're scared to file an injury, and so they don't even try at all. This form helps with that. But then the other thing that happens is people just don't know what to do in the first place, whether they're scared or not. And so this form, what a federal employee should do when injured at work, sort of takes all the complication out of it and makes it to where you can go sit down in your supervisor's chair or across from the supervisor, and when you stand up, you're done. So that's the problem, though. You got to talk to your supervisor. So we've got a small audience here. I love shows of hands. Who likes talking to their supervisor? Nobody. It's shocking. Nobody likes that, but that's the issue. You have to. So we're going to go over that, and then along the way, we're going to answer your questions. Before I get going, are there already questions?
Some, yes.
Okay, so we're going to get to those in a minute.
Don't forget, guys, share, and you don't see, you guys make me nervous. I don't even know what to say. Don't forget, you could have a chance to win we still didn't figure out what we're going to be giving away, but I promise next week, it's hard with him to decide what we're going to give away.
Last month she tried to give me away.
Yeah. He's still available if you guys want him.
So we have a share contest. That's the deal. So each month, whoever shares the most times, and it's just taking anything on our page and hitting the share button and sharing it to your news feed. Whoever does the most wins a prize. And the point of that is to get the word out that we're doing this. We currently have like 7,200 people that have hit the follow button on this page, but we have almost 500,000 views a year of our videos. So we think there's a few people that didn't hit the follow button. We think you should all do that. So hit like, follow, and share, but definitely share it so your friends and coworkers can get this information as well.
Okay, so we're going to go over the CA-10. I posted it on our page, and there is a copy in, was it the first or second book?
The first book.
So if you have the first book, there's a copy of the CA-10. You can follow along with us. Make sure that you guys are sharing the CA-10 with all your coworkers. It's very important, and this is going to get you through all of your work injury issues, especially with supervisors not knowing what to do and giving you guys a hard time.
So, and speaking of supervisors, next week is going to be our
The Woodshed Show.
it's the Woodshed Show. Has anybody seen the Woodshed Show?
Where we take the supervisors
Out
back
behind
out,
the woodshed.
where we talk about the supervisors.
So we'll be doing that next week. All right, so we may have questions. I'll answer them as they come in. If you all have a question about anything, holler it out, like I said. So the CA10, at the bottom right corner of the form, it says Form CA10. It says last revised August 1987. So that's a long time, and this is the law. So for more than 30 years, 35 years, this hasn't changed, not even a little bit. But still, we see all the time that people have not ever heard of this form. They've never seen it in the break room. We asked here if anybody had ever had it seen it in the break room, and nobody had. Nobody ever does. So all of you watching know to print this form out and take it to work tomorrow. And then it'll be on your bulletin board, and then people will not say no to that question anymore. And it does say, as I said, post on employee's bulletin board. But here's the deal. This is a 5-step process for how to report a work injury, how to get it filed, so that you can go to the next step of seeing a doctor and getting your claim accepted. And if you're scared to talk to your supervisor, then step 1 is going to be tough for you. What I recommend to you is to take a union steward with you if you can get one, and don't go in alone. And for all you stewards out there, and you have seen the book, you know that in my chapter, in the second book on stewards, it says show up. Don't let someone be alone, because that's the theme of the book. You're not alone. So I also want stewards to not let people be alone. Go in there and help them when they're talking to the supervisor, because supervisors very often either don't know what to do or they say the wrong thing on purpose, and we need someone in there that can help with that.
Is there anyone in here that's a steward? No?
There's definitely no supervisors in here. So the first thing on here says report to supervisor, and let me say this. I've heard people say that reporting a work injury is overwhelming. There's so much to do, and I can't possibly go do that. It's too hard. Well, what you're going to find out is that everything that happens on this form happens in one setting. When you sit down, you do these things, and when you stand up, it's done already. So it's not overwhelming. If you can just get past the I don't want to talk to my supervisor part, then you can have success with this. But it says every job-related injury should be reported as soon as possible to your supervisor. And as soon as possible is terrible wording. It needs to be immediately, right away. So everyone that follows us knows that as soon as possible is when?
Now.
Now is the soonest possible time to do anything. So as soon as possible should say now. And the reason why is you start losing benefits, and this is a good educational tool for the staff. We'll go over this as well. You start losing benefits if you wait. And so as soon as possible, some people might say, well, I'll get to that next week. Well, by next week, you've already lost benefits. If you don't report right away, you run the risk of losing your CA-16, for example, and we'll talk about that in the second paragraph. The CA-16 pays all your medical bills for the first 60 days after a work injury that happened in a single shift, a CA-1 injury. And that's important because you never have to pay that money back. Even if your claim's never accepted, those 60 days are covered. Well, many people can get better in 60 days, and so that's really important. And then the other thing that happens is people start making decisions on their health based on finances. And so when you're having to make money decisions on health, then often you make decisions that aren't good for your health, right?
Yep.
So if you have a CA-16, that's not really an issue. So you want to report immediately. You have 7 days to report a CA-1 injury and still be able to get CA-16, so that's really important. So the first thing on here, the most important part of Section 1 is report immediately, report now to your supervisor. And then the second section of the form says 2 things. It says, A, you can choose your own physician. That's a real problem for a lot of people because they get told by management that they have to go to the urgent care or they have to go to some doctor that they've predetermined, or if you're a VA employee, you get told all the time you have to go see VA doctors. Mm-hmm. And VA doctors are, as far as I'm concerned, world-class doctors. But to my knowledge, they've never gotten a single work injury claim approved. And that's the case for almost every doctor out there. You can go to your family doctor, you can go to your family chiropractor, you can go to urgent care, ER, VA, and guaranteed you'll get a denied claim because they're not trained in how to get your claim approved. So that's really important. And when they send you to an urgent care, well, who's in the urgent care? It's nurse practitioners. and the medical doctors don't sign anything. And so when the documentation goes in, if it goes in at all, with a nurse practitioner signature alone, it's an automatic denial. And so when you're sent to an urgent care, you're sent to a denial, and we want to stop that. So the choice of doctor is yours, and nobody can get in the way of that. And in the first book, there's a chapter on rules, laws, and regulations. And there's one in there that essentially says that it's a crime to prevent you from filing a work injury. And then there's a rule also that says that nobody can get in your way of choosing your own doctor. So that's absolute, and we love that. We think everyone should choose their own doctor and be thoughtful about it. Take your time and find the right person who's trained. If you're in Chicago, you can come right here. Okay, but unfortunately, if you're in Iowa, we don't have anybody yet, or Idaho, we don't have anybody yet. If you're in California and New York, there's nobody. It's shocking. Two of the biggest places in the country don't have a single doctor. So when you have an opportunity to find one that is trained, you need to go to them.
See, like Jerry said, they need to be in every office and put them in every bathroom stall. So you guys try, I mean,
hey, there you go.
Just so people will see it, because if you guys are going through all of this, and like you just said, you wish you would have known us a couple years ago, this is what could save everyone. So make sure you give it out to everybody.
That's right. So I said in the second section that it says you can choose your own doctor. That's really important. But the other thing it says is you have a right to get a CA-16. It says to ask your supervisor to authorize medical treatment by use of Form CA-16. But what happens is supervisors say, well, I've never heard of the form. I don't have to give you the form. I don't want to give you the form. I don't know where the form's at. You can find this form at federalinjurycenters.com as well, Form CA-16. But the law says that they have 4 hours from the reported injury to give you this form. So it doesn't say that they might give you the form. It says they shall give you the form, and they shall give it to you within 4 hours. And that's what people don't know. That's why that book is made small. I keep pointing at a book. I've got the book over there on the table. Hold on, let me get it.
Mr. Rich Ray from New York said, my stewards had a Zoom meeting with these two awesome
What's up, Rich?
people. Since that meeting, they are on fire. Thank you guys for that. Everyone has stepped up and been making us proud. Great.
Staten Island.
Yeah.
So this book is small on purpose. When I wrote it, there's a few things. Like when I read a book, and I like to read books, I hate books that are complicated. I hate big words. They just frustrate me. I find myself getting to the end of a page and saying, I got to read that page again. So I try to write in a way where you don't have to do that. But also, it's small, it's simple, you can keep it around with you. It's not small enough to keep in your pocket, unfortunately. But the rules and laws and regulations in here are invaluable, because when a supervisor says, I'm not going to, that says, well, not only are you going to give it to me, but you're on the clock, and you have 4 hours to give it to me. Who here has been to my Breaking OWCP site and looked at the free forms? Has anybody seen those? Okay, so I've got a free downloads tab at breakingowcp.com where you can get these forms for free. We're actually building a new website. We're in the process, or we just started it, where all these forms will be there as well, and they'll be much easier to get to. But I have a form for how to get a CA-16. And one of the things that you're writing in there is when you told the supervisor, and then when you got your CA-16. We're literally putting them on the clock. And then the form also has the exact law in the Code of Federal Regulations that we're referencing for that 4 hour period. Now, if you don't get your CA-16 within 4 hours, I recommend that you file a grievance. Now, I've said this, I'm not part of any unions. I want to be. I would file grievances every day. I love the word grievance. I think we should file grievances all the time. And most of the unions are on board with that. One of them is not. If you're with that group, you do your thing. But we like filing grievances. That needs to start happening as often as possible, so supervisors get the message that they're going to give the CA-16 out, because the word shall is absolute. It's not maybe. So that's the second section. Get a CA-16, and that's only for a CA-1 injury. In other words, an injury that happens in a single shift. Unfortunately, if you have an injury that happened over 2 or more shifts, you're not eligible for a CA-16.
Well, this girl just said she had a heart attack on the job. Sheila.
That's hard to prove that it's work-related.
Yeah, Sheila, you can give us a call. Let's talk to you about this one-on-one.
Yeah, that one would be tough, but we'll do our best to help you out.
And Mr. Rich Ray said, Chris, you're hired in my branch.
I'm an official member in Staten Island.
Now you can be a union member.
Appreciate that, Rich. All right, so that's the first two sections. So important. You report immediately, and by doing so, you get a CA-16, and you go choose your own doctor. So that's what we know so far. The third section of this says to fill out a CA-1 or a CA-2. Well, that's how you report your injury. You're not just telling your supervisor that you're hurt. There's a form for this. If you were hurt in a single shift, you fill out a CA-1. If you were hurt in 2 or more shifts, it's a CA-2. So it's pretty easy to understand, 1 or 2, 1 day, 1 shift or 2 shifts or more. But what you got to know is you got to get copies of everything. Has anybody ever heard that somebody say they didn't get copies of their CA-1 or 2, and the supervisor said they didn't have to give them copies, right? Except the law, and it's in the book, the law says that not only do they have to give them the receipt that's part of the CA-1 and 2, but they have to give them copies of everything else. And so the law is totally opposite of what people are getting told, that they don't have to get these forms. Well, we definitely want them. So I don't have a CA-1 in front of me, but on the second page, that's what the supervisors fill out. And there's 4 or 5 places on there that a supervisor can write something negative and get a case denied. Well, don't you want to know that? And a lot of people don't realize that. And so what we're able to do is take those CA-1 forms, review the second page, what the supervisor said, and if they say something negative, we refute that in the narrative report. For example, we had a person in Maryland, I've told this story over and over and over, who lifted a box, fell down, and the supervisor said it was due to willful misconduct. And it said, if yes, was this due to willful misconduct? If yes, explain. And so the explanation was that she was noticeably unstable when she lifted the box, so it was willful. Well, the doctor who had that form read it and then wrote a section that said willful misconduct. It was big and bold. There's a section in the narrative called willful misconduct. And he said it was on the part of a supervisor who allowed someone to get hurt. And that case was accepted first pass. But you need to see that stuff. We had another one where a carrier stepped in a ditch. You know, a ditch, like walking into the yard, and there was a hole in the ditch. This is my favorite one. And so she twisted her knee and called her supervisor and said, you know, I stepped in this hole and I twisted my knee. And the supervisor said, well, come on back. And so she filled her CA-1, and on the box 14 that says, you know, description of injury, she said, well, I stepped in a ditch and twisted my knee. And the supervisor, there's a question that says, do the facts of this case correspond with the employee statement? If no, explain. And he said no. He said, well, his explanation was, on the phone she said she stepped in a hole, but right here she said she stepped in a ditch. So the facts don't add up. So this was a North Carolina case, and the doctor there wrote a section of his narrative in big bold that said, and I kid you not, it said, the hole was in the ditch, you idiot. And then he wrote a story about it, and that case got accepted as well. So some of our doctors write a little more colorfully than others. That's okay. In all cases, the cases get accepted. But we get a little frustrated when we see that a supervisor goes out of their way to hurt the case. And we can fix it, okay? The doctor's report far outweighs anything a supervisor can say. But we need to know what they say, so we get copies of the whole thing. And so that's not in this third section. It doesn't say, and get copies of everything. It should, but it doesn't, because who is going to go to the Code of Federal Regulations and look this stuff up besides me? You know, almost nobody will do it. The rules are in the book, but the supervisors don't know the rules either. So get copies of everything. That's super important. The fourth section is about the receipt of notice. The receipt of notice is part of the CA-1, part of the CA-2. It's not a separate form. So this is, again, not overwhelming. You're filling out one form. And that receipt is so important. A lot of people don't get it, but it indicates that today is the day that I reported, and supervisors have now 10 days to send that in to DOL. And if it's not sent in 10 days, well, you're just delaying. If you got a CA-16 and you only have 60 days of care, and they don't start the clock right away, you're kind of wasting time. And sometimes, and we've seen this, we'll get copies of everything, and then the supervisor's copy accidentally got lost in a trash can. And that happens. Well, if you have the receipt, you can at least show that you did your part, and you can get the claim accepted. So it's just a way to check the supervisor and make sure they do their job. But people don't get the receipts, and that's a problem.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Lainey said, so what type of doctor or clinic are you saying someone should go to if doctors aren't trained to write information properly?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the reason I laughed is because before COVID, when I was doing live trainings, I would always tell people there's 5 categories of doctors that are always going to get your claim denied. And every time somebody would grab pen and paper and I'd say, don't write this down. You're not going to like it. And I said it earlier, it's like every category of doctor will potentially get a claim denied. So which doctor can I go to if they all are going to get my claim denied? You got to go to one that's trained. So you go to Google and you search OWCP injury doctor in your city and state. That's one you should write down. OWCP injury doctor, city and state. The reason that is because anybody who wants to help you will be found on Google using that search term. And you go to those places, okay? You go look at their website and see if it says federal workers' comp. Does it say OWCP? If a doctor can't even on their websites have the right terminology, then they're not going to be able to help you because they don't speak the language. So you go to the site and you check it out and then call. And when you call, do you take federal workers' comp? If they say, yeah, we do workers' comp, that's not the right answer. Do you do federal workers' comp? Because it's different than everything else. So take your time and find the right, somebody who's trained to do this. And that way you can get your claim accepted. But it's very frustrating. I know that, like I said earlier, you can go to most states and not have a single doctor that's trained to do this, and which is a problem for everybody in those states, and which is why some people drive 5.5 hours to get to a doctor, and or farther. We had 13 people coming from South Carolina to Florida
Every 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's but there was nobody in South Carolina. There's now, but there wasn't then.
Jody Goodwin said, they told me I had to do everything myself online. They wouldn't fill anything out. She's probably talking about the supervisor.
Yeah, well, you file a grievance for that and call OSHA. This is a really important part. OSHA lists 9 employee rights on their website, and the 6th employee right is the right to report a work injury. So if it's your right as an employee, then doesn't it make sense the supervisor should have to adhere to that? Well, it's also, there's another place in OSHA that says it's a crime to prevent you from exercising your rights. So we put that, and by the way, that's on one of my forms as well. So supervisors know they might be breaking the law. But yeah, that happens. You just have to show them the rules and maybe take a union steward with you, file a grievance, and contact OSHA, 1-800-321-OSHA, and tell them the supervisor's not letting me report my injury because that's not safe. It's very dangerous.
Anybody have any questions on the CA10 that's watching on Facebook? Do you understand what the CA10 is? Plaster it everywhere in your break room, in the bathroom, on everybody's car.
Oh, on cars. I don't know about that. Okay, let me get to the last section on this. I think it's probably the most important. Who thinks getting paid is important? So I know everybody would raise their hand if I asked you to. Everybody out there would too. So that's what the 5th part of this form is about. It's about getting paid. If you have a CA1 claim, box 15 on the first page of the CA1 asks, do you want COP or do you want to use sick and vacation time? And COP is 45 days, but if you don't report your injury within 30 days, you can't have COP. So it's another deal. You've got to report right away so you don't lose benefits. And that's a very important one. So let's say that you're someone who just stepped out of their vehicle today and twisted your knee, or stepped into a hole that's in a ditch and twisted your knee, and you don't get a CA16 and you don't get COP. So what's happening then is you're paying for all your medical care out of your pocket, and you're using your sick and annual leave to get out of work. And when you run out of that, there's nothing that protects you. You can use FMLA, but you're still not getting paid. So what COP does, it gives you 45 calendar days of payment for a CA1 work injury. And it's not 45 consecutive days. It's any time you need to be off until your claim is approved, they pay for it. That's COP. So the danger of getting COP and then getting your claim ultimately denied is, guess what? They want you to pay it back. So imagine you're somebody who has 45 days of time off and your claim never gets approved. And then you get a letter from your agency saying, all right, we're going to be taking that back now. The way they do it is they take your sick and annual leave and then they start taking it from you because they get their money back. Here's the good news. Here's the good news. Not a single Federal Injury Center's patient has ever paid back COP. That's because everybody gets their claim approved. So that's not a problem with us. And it's not a problem with any office that's out there in the world that knows how to do this. But I have seen these letters. I've seen letters from the post office where your COP is getting paid, you're going to pay it back. Well, that's if it's ultimately denied. All right, but we do, now I'm going to get into a new topic. We tell everyone to do reconsiderations. So if you get a denial, the denial comes with a letter, and the letter has an appeal request form on the back of it. There are 4 options on the appeal request form, and you will only choose the second option. I think it's the second one. It's reconsideration. And the reason that is because with reconsideration, you can submit new information from your doctor, which is easy to obtain because the doctor reads the denial letter. There's a paragraph that says specifically your claim is denied because, and then we respond to that. And then that's your new information. The other reason you use reconsideration is they give you 12 months to appeal it. So if you're inside of a 12-month appeal and you get a letter from your agency saying you're going to pay it back, you just show them that you're under appeal. I'm not paying this back. And you're not going to be required to because the law allows for you to do what will seem like an infinite number of reconsiderations if necessary. You could have your injury claim under reconsideration for a decade. I mean, I don't want that for anybody, but you could. And if it's under reconsideration, it's not ultimately denied. So the danger with COP is you might have to pay that back. So just another reason that the first or the second thing on here that says choose your doctor wisely is so important because I don't want you to pay anything to anybody as a result of a work injury.
Those of you that are asking where you can get the book, I pinned it right down below. I pinned it. You can get the book and the forms and also the phone number for you guys to call that we're asking. Here we got. Jeremy Manning says, is pain a part of a schedule award? I'm going on my 2nd ankle surgery next month and we've been on work comp for 2 years. My foot will never be the same and hurts every day.
Yeah, pain is not a consideration, unfortunately, but the condition itself is all that's needed. So they do it a 6th edition impairment rating. And if you get the second book, you can actually plug that number along with other things into a formula that I've created so you can figure out what your award will be. But pain is not a diagnosis that they approve ever, and it's not a consideration in the schedule award.
Rich said, Chris, we just won a COP grievance. Not only the carrier is getting his 45 days, they also paid him an additional $500. We got 3 more pending.
That's what I'm talking about. So this guy Rich in Staten Island, he's a beast. Like, everybody needs a president like Rich.
So this guy, I don't know, you have your initials, JTR. You said, I got one, but I'm trying to appeal. Don't appeal it. File a reconsideration.
Well, a reconsideration is an appeal. So be sure you do the right appeal. If you do oral hearing, review of the written record, I mean, seriously. So here's an oral hearing. We're going to out loud discuss the reasons we denied you in the first place. That almost never works. Or a review of the written record. All right, so we're going to review what we reviewed the first time where we denied you. That doesn't make any sense. And then ECAB, it's just like, that's way down the line. Don't do ECAB. So reconsideration. And one time I've told this story too. I had somebody, like a heckler, also from Maryland, by the way, on LinkedIn. And she was so mean to me. Well, what do you know about OWCP? And do you know how to do ECAB? You know what my answer was?
I remember that.
No, I don't do ECABs. We get cases accepted. What are you talking about? Anyways, don't do ECAB. Do reconsideration. Give yourself 12 months to appeal it and get new information from your doctor.
Yeah. Rich said, and Mr. Ray is an NALC local president in New York, so I don't know if this applies to just NALC, but he said, everyone make sure you get a letter of demand. Tell your union you're getting them in the mail now. You only have 14 days to grieve it. So like I said, I don't know if this goes for all crafts.
Yeah, well, the letter of demand is what the agency is sending you so that you can pay your money back. And we don't want to do that. And so, what did he say to do? 14 days, that's right. So that's really important. I'm glad he said it.
Grieve it.
Another thing that happens is people miss deadlines. There are so many deadlines in OWCP, and every one of them are total deal breakers if you miss it. If you miss a reconsideration deadline, it's over, okay? Your claim's done. If you intended to do a reconsideration and you wait more than 12 months, that's ball game. So don't miss that one. If you don't report in 30 days, you're not getting COP, period. If you don't report in 7 days, you're not getting a CA-16, period. It's over. So these deadlines are really important. And we've had people that would call us and say, well, I have this deadline and it's in 2 days. Can you write a narrative? Well, probably. Okay, in truthfulness, we probably can write a narrative in 2 days. But if you call the wrong place, you're gonna get a no, and then you're done. It's over. So don't miss deadlines.
Vanessa said, my postmaster told me the COP was for the first 45 days.
Well, it's not for the first 45 days. It's for any 45 days. They don't have to be consecutive. You can take 1 day a week for 45 weeks. That's 45 days. In fact, half days count as a full day, unfortunately. So if you even take one half day, that's a day.
Mark Barnett said, I've had 2 shoulder surgeries in less than 6 months, back to work, but they sent me to 2 different doctors to get it right now. Do I go to a third doctor? And how many times can they send you to a doctor to get rated?
As many times as they want. And unfortunately, if they send you to another doctor, it's required, so don't skip it. That's one of those deals. It's like missing a deadline. That's a deal breaker. Don't skip it.
Marianne Prater said, oh my God, I just paid back about $2,500 to the post office used all my sick and annual leave. This was on an approved case, letter of demand.
Yeah. She needs to go to her union and work that out.
Yeah, Mary, just
she
talk to Cliff.
She should not have paid that back.
Ron Speakman said, can I get COP if I wasn't out till months later? I reported injury, was getting treatment, injections, physical therapy, and home exercises, pain management. Finally, 6 months later, my doctor put me out for good till I got surgery, which was yesterday. Can I still get COP on top of the claim and got compensation for?
So you have to report your injury within 30 days to be eligible for COP. If you did that and you didn't use any COP, but your claim's accepted, you're still not eligible. So that's the next question: is your claim accepted? Because COP runs out, just like the CA-16 runs out when the claim is accepted. Because once it's accepted, then OWCP takes over paying for everything.
Renee Marie said, are they allowed to take your doctor's notes and everything to postal nurse without written consent from you?
Anybody in line of an OWCP claim has a right to look at your information. So yeah, I think that's probably... But
not the supervisors and postmasters.
They should be... Okay, so that nurse should be getting it from the doctor.
Yeah.
I should have said that up front. No, supervisors shouldn't be giving it... In fact, supervisors should not have your medical records. They should have a CA-17 or a CA-20. That's really all they have a right to see.
Yep.
If it's not on those 2 forms, they don't even have a right to have it. So if they're getting your records... that's probably another problem I'd want to deal with.
And Ron said, yes, it is accepted. Where he said, can I get COP if I was...
Okay, yeah, so when your claim's accepted, Ron, you're not eligible for COP anymore because it runs out. You know, if I got your claim accepted in 2 weeks, that's 14 days, then you don't get 45 days of COP, it's over. At that point, you start getting paid using a CA-7.
Yep. Jessica said, I reported to the post office, but not the work comp claims adjuster within 30 days. I haven't been approved yet. How long before I hear if I'm approved or not?
So you have to keep calling your claims examiner maybe as often as you're comfortable calling. I would do it every single day because that would not make me uncomfortable. But there's no written rules or guidelines for how soon they have to approve these things. So you want to be, what is it, the squeaky wheel gets oiled? Mm-hmm. Be a squeaky wheel.
Yeah, like Rich said, yes, postal nurses has the right to your medical notes. Supervisors have no right to review your doctor's notes, only a CA-17.
Or 20.
Yeah. Anybody have questions out here?
Yeah.
When I filled out my accident report, I talked to my supervisor, and when I asked her for her file, I don't have her report there what she reported. And she said she didn't write anything. She only did all my time and my pay, but she said she didn't write no statement.
So when you're saying when you filled out your work injury form, was it CA1 or 2?
CA1.
So when you filled your CA1 out, you're saying that she didn't fill out the second page?
She said, they make us fill it out online.
Yeah.
You don't fill it out every job.
Yeah, but they still have to do their part.
And she said she didn't do her part.
Yeah, I would grieve that. Okay. And if she doesn't do her part, I don't know how your claim can ever get approved. Okay. Has it been approved? So that's going to be a problem. They're required to fill out the second page. It's not optional. It says supervisor. Okay, it's on purpose. They want them to do it. And then they're required to give you copies of everything. So what I would do is I would go ahead and print a copy out. You can get that at our website as well, federalinjurycenters.com. You can get a CA1 there. And I would take it and have it filled out. I know they're doing it by computer, but it can be done by paper. I know that because most agencies still do. Okay, but definitely don't allow that. If your supervisor says, I'm not going to fill that out, that's wrong, and you grieve that, and I would even contact OSHA. You're not going to be able to get your claim approved without these forms filled out.
And another thing, she said that when I told her what the injury was, and I had a previous injury, and this is another injury, because she said that they would probably tie it in together as a reconsideration.
A recurrence.
I mean, a reoccurrence.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, how is it a reoccurrence? And my doctor sent me for another MRI.
Yeah.
And then when I came back 2 weeks later, because he took me off for 2 weeks, I came back and I told her that he's taking me off because I have an MRI because he thinks something else going on with my shoulder. So I come back after 2 weeks. Now I got the MRI and he said I got a tick. I'm showing you all of it. So how is that reoccur?
So my answer is really simple. When your supervisor comes and says, I think that's a recurrence, my response would be, can I see your medical license, please? Right? How do you know? Okay, so this is my example for why you just don't assume it's a recurrence. Both of my knees have reconstructed ACL ligaments. Okay, I know that the ACL runs down the middle of the knee. I also know that there's a ligament right behind it. I have no idea if my knee starts hurting if that's the ACL or the PCL. I don't know. How do I know that? They're in the same spot. It just hurts. So just because I had an ACL tear doesn't mean that it's a recurrence of an ACL tear. So what I tell everyone is, not when in doubt, I don't say that. I say always, always go to your doctor first. Okay? If you're not sure if it's a recurrence, go see your doctor and find out if it's a recurrence. You know, maybe you need some imaging, or the doctor can, do some tests and decide what it is. But you don't just automatically assume that an injury is a recurrence because, first of all, recurrences have a low acceptance rate. And so we like to avoid them when possible. But you avoid them by just doing the right thing. If it's a new injury, you should report it as a new injury. Because it's a new injury. It's not a recurrence. We hear that all the time.
Do you need a doctor? Right there.
Yeah, we know one. We know one.
You had a question, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
What happens if you're injured at work, you have a CA1 filled out, and then you're off work, and then you get a letter from workers' comp stating that they need page 2, which the supervisor fills out. They need it, and that supervisor has retired.
You two work in the same place? Have a new supervisor fill it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a supervisor. Have the postmaster. I don't care.
And what if they deny doing it? What if they can't?
Well, that's against the law. And
But they can say that I'm not aware of your injury. I wasn't your supervisor at the time.
it doesn't mean it didn't happen. They still have to fill it out. Even if they go through there and they write negative answers on those 4 or 5 places, right? Even if they do that, they still have to fill it out. So just push a little harder. Get some union help as well. Okay, this is mandatory. And for everybody out there, this is actually the first time I've ever heard that a supervisor didn't fill out the second page, and I've heard it twice. So supervisors, you have to do your job. Okay, you've got to fill the pages out. It's probably a good idea that you write truthful stuff in there because it's a crime to make false statements in connection with a work injury. So just be honest and fill it out. And, I've filled these out before, just training. I've filled them out. And you can fill out the second page in like 5 minutes or less, so I'm sure you have time. You can probably get that done.
Somebody earlier said that their supervisor said that their injury was fake and telling the claims examiner it's fake as well. What do they do? I didn't get to read that.
Yeah, well, we've seen that before. I've seen it more times than I'd like to admit, but supervisors that say this is not a real injury, you're faking it. Okay, show me your medical license, or actually I don't care. You can do whatever. You can say that. I would say it. But their opinion is irrelevant because the weight of evidence is on the doctor's side. So what the doctor says is all that's going to matter. I've seen CA1 forms with negative stuff written all throughout it, and the claim still gets approved because claims examiners assume that some supervisors are jerks or some of them aren't high on the IQ scale, and maybe some of them are just trying to cause trouble. So I think they acknowledge that can happen, and doctors just are doctors. They're just doing their job, and so they put all the weight with the doctor. I wouldn't worry about what supervisors say.
And a lot of the times the claims examiner, they don't have any medical background. They're looking for wording that there's from, what is it, DOL?
Yeah.
That they're just picked out like, oh, that's on there. Okay, we're going to approve it or deny it.
Is it DOL? Yeah, it's DOL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quiet. Renee said, my claims examiner said not to call anymore, more than once, because each call pushes you to the end of the callback line.
That's not true.
Oh my God.
That's not true. I'd call and speak to the supervisor.
Piper said, I had
Hold on. And if that is true, that's pretty crappy. I'm just going to leave it there.
Anything else?
No.
Piper said, I had a CA1 and didn't go to the doctor. Do I have to start over after a few years?
No. I mean, so if you report your injury on time, and does anybody in here know what on time means? How long do you have to report a work injury? 3 years. That's right. So if you reported your work injury within 3 years, it's not too late. You can still go get help.
Jessica said, when it says 30 days, is it business days or calendar days?
It doesn't state business or calendar, so let's assume calendar. It's calendar. Now that I think about it, it's calendar.
It's calendar.
But it doesn't. It just says 30 days in the rules. It doesn't say 30 calendar days. But as I understand the rule, it's calendar days.
Vanessa said, I filed a CA1 for an injury, and now my doctor is saying the injury exacerbated an underlying occupational disease. How do I file a CA2 for the same area?
Okay, so this person has a CA1, and the new injury exacerbated an existing condition.
An underlying occupational disease.
Right. So that's not going to be a new CA2. So these are complicated cases. So this person has a CA1 claim. It happened in a single shift. And as a result of that, it inflamed something else that was already there. Well, the something else is going to be covered too. But it's not a new injury. Instead, it's a consequential injury. And so what this person needs to do is, Vanessa, you need to go to your doctor and get a consequential injury report. And it's a narrative report that explains how, as a result of your CA1 claim, you have this other problem now. This happens a lot for people that are limping. They may be limping because of their right leg is hurt, and then the next thing you know, their left hip is hurt, or something like that. And so that's a consequential condition as well. Anything that is caused, exacerbated, made worse, whatever, by a work injury is covered. But not in a new claim.
Go. Can I say something now?
Go ahead, we'll see.
What's the time limit on, this is from Marianne Prater. What's the time limit on filing an appeal after the fact?
Well, okay, if you do a reconsideration, you have 12 months. If you do anything else, you probably already ran out of time.
Holly Cornwell said, can OWCP and the post office force me to go to a doctor more often than my appointments are scheduled to get them to fill out CA-17s or duty status reports?
Okay, so there are no rules that say that a CA-17 has got to be filled out at any interval. Okay, it's a letter of medical, or a form of medical necessity. It should be filled out when the doctor says so. When there's a change to your ability to work, one way or the other, then it gets filled out. If one is expiring, it gets filled out. But with that said, supervisors will often say, bring a new CA-17. I even heard a few of them that said, bring one to every shift. Every time you go to the doctor, bring a CA-17, which is completely ridiculous. And it's a waste of the doctor's time too, because they're just copying it from the last time. You know, if you're going to the doctor 3 times a week and you're getting 3 CA-17s a week,
That's not good.
I'm photocopying them, okay, and just put in a new date. They can do it. The supervisor can do it, but it's a total waste of everyone's time.
Great advice. Photocopy it.
Nothing changed.
BJ Fortson said, how do you find out who the claims examiner is on an appealed denial?
Well, you got to call your district office for OWCP, which is easy to find. You can just go to Google and search OWCP district offices. And then the link that you get will have a United States map, and you click on your state, and right below it, you'll get the phone number to the district office. And then you can, if you need your claim number, and then they'll tell you who your claim examiner is.
So Marianne said, Renee is right. The recording does state your call will be pushed back. That's when they're calling their claims examiners.
That's just a jerk move.
Chris Rock said, 3 years I got turned down the first time and had to pay them back. I got COVID at work and didn't get anything from the post office. What should they do?
So, go to my Twitter page, because it's been a while since that that came out, but I posted the post office's notice
Yeah.
of what to do when you get COVID, and it's pretty easy. They're not giving you a hard time, and what it basically says is you're getting 14 days off with pay. But check that out. There's not a lot of stuff on my Twitter feed at Fed Injury Center, but a picture of the form is there, and you can read it yourself.
Cheryl says, if a claim is closed and you receive a settlement payment, can you use your health insurance for treatment after the fact if the pain comes back?
You can, but you don't need to. If it comes back, that may be a recurrence. So you'd fill out a CA2A and let OWCP take care of it. But remember, go to the doctor and make sure that it's a recurrence. It could be something new, which, will be covered.
That's it for now. Anybody out here have any more questions?
Yeah.
Say for instance, if your supervisor don't fill out her portion, and you have a witness, can the witness write a statement?
So the CA1 form, box 16, is for a witness statement. And so definitely, I would always get a witness statement if you can. I tell everyone, be a witness if you can. So many people are scared to write on those forms. But there's really no harm in it, okay? You saw something happen, just tell the truth. But get a witness statement anytime you can. If there's not enough room on it, have them type it up or write it up on their own form and attach it. But witness statements are really critical, and unfortunately, most of the time, that's left blank. And it doesn't have to be a coworker even. Like maybe you're on your route and the customer sees it happen. That's a witness. We had a guy at a VA hospital in Miami, Gilbert, and he was injured 8 years before I met him. And I wrote about him in one of these books. He was injured 8 years before I met him, lifting a person out of a golf cart. Because if you've ever been to a VA, far out, they've got somebody driving a golf cart to take you to the front door. So that was his job. Well, he helped lift this guy into the cart, and he hurt his back really bad. And 8 years later, his claim wasn't approved.
You're talking about Gilbert?
Yeah. But his claim was open, which meant he did reconsiderations on time. And then I went and did a union meeting at that hospital, and they invited Gilbert in. He told the story. Anyways, I'm going to get to the point. In between when I met him and when we finally got his claim approved 8 years later, he was fired. But what did I say in the beginning? You can't fire someone for having a work injury, okay? So it was approved, he got his job back, he got his money back. It's like he was on vacation.
He got like $25,000.
Well, I don't remember how much he got back, but
from all his insurance co-pays and all the surgeries he
it was
had.
definitely worth it
Yeah.
to get the claim approved. But here's the point. The reason we got his claim approved is because when I was talking to him, I said, Gilbert, wasn't there a witness? Well, no. Didn't you lift a person? Yeah, that's your witness, right? And so, having some understanding of how healthcare systems work, I said, I'll bet you we can find this guy. Let's find him. But that was 8 years ago. All we need is for him to be alive. And if he's alive, we can get a statement. So guess what? They found the guy.
Yeah, the union president.
They found him.
Found him.
They got a witness statement, and boom, claim approved. How important is a witness statement? 8 years later, his claim was approved because they found a witness.
He was literally crying when he got accepted.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it must have been overwhelming.
Yeah.
But witness statements are really important. They're so important that an 8-year-old claim can be approved as a result of it. So if you're out there, be a witness. Tell the truth, but be a witness.
Those of you that are asking about COVID claims, Rich, he's the NALC president, Staten Island, says COVID claims are a major issue. Call your NBA office if you're in the Postal Service. The National Union took over those cases. They took it away from local unions. National Business Agent offices, call them and they'll help you. So somebody was on here,
That's a good
asked, Chris Rock, you asked about you didn't get paid for
Did you
your
say Chris
COVID.
Rock?
Yeah, that's his name.
Okay.
It's because he said that they only...
Welcome to the show.
They said they only paid him 14 days, and he was out for a month.
COP?
COVID. That's all.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
so on that notice that I posted on Twitter, it says 14 days. So I don't know what happens after that, to be totally honest with you.
Anybody else have any questions out here?
New guidelines coming out for COVID with the NBA.
Okay, good.
They haven't finalized it yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
what we're hearing is that there's new guidelines coming out from the MBAs. So, For COVID.
2021.
Oh, okay.
okay, so look for those and ask your MBA.
Yeah. You had a question?
Have you seen a case where someone got COVID from work and they died?
I mean, I know our local, we had one maybe that he said, the NALC president, but I don't I don't know any in Florida.
I've never heard of one, but I'm
No.
sure that it happened.
It has happened because I've seen it on all the Facebook groups. There've been several.
I'm sure that it happened, and I don't like to talk about those because it's so sad. But there are forms for that too. OWCP has forms for if you die as a result of work, and it's for the families to fill out, obviously. But there is a mechanism to take care of that. What a tragedy, though. But thankfully, I don't know anybody that happened to.
Getting back to her question about the supervisor refusing, is that what you said?
Well, the supervisor, she said, she doesn't know, she's not sure if the supervisor actually filled it out.
We're talking amongst ourselves.
The reason why I'm saying that, it doesn't matter if the supervisor retires, they have to have somebody on duty to take the OWCP claim for the postal service. The control office, which is covered under 545.11 of the L.
Well, you're pretty handy. So we've got somebody back here giving rules. We should switch places. This is awesome.
In 542.33 for refusal to, that's the penalties that they won't vote on that.
That's what she was talking about.
542.33 is penalty for refusal to process a claim.
Yeah, so you can find those rules. There's a site called about.usps.com, and they actually have all of those rules that you're
Yes, has,
Using.
just look in the manual. Under
The-
540 covers all workers, not the postal.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Also, 540, EL 307, EL 505, then you can go into your OWCP manual.
So there's a lot of rules, and so what we're talking about is there's a lot of rules that govern OWCP. And the post office went out of their way to go ahead and post them on their own website, which is nice of them to do. But one of the rules states, and I don't remember word for word, but it's in the book, that anybody in line of filing a federal workers' comp injury claim who doesn't can be imprisoned or fined, or both. So they take that very seriously. Supervisors, you can go to jail for not processing a work injury claim, for not filling out page 2. That 5-minute page is not worth jail time, and it's not worth a heavy fine. So just fill out the forms. Don't be jerks.
Usually if you're putting up the rules, and as for the EEOC OSHA number, go back up.
Yeah, always use the rules when you get a chance. And that's why I put the rules in the book so that you can carry it around and say, yeah, but here's what the rule says, and it's easy to find.
So Thomas Lyman said, emergency federal employee leave from form signed into law on March 11, 2021. Changed to emergency federal employee. It can be researched on the web at nalc.org. So you guys should just check it out. If you
Yeah.
have friends that have COVID and don't know what to do.
All right, what other questions we have? We have 5 or 6 minutes left.
Nothing yet.
Come on, people.
So don't forget, everybody here and that are watching, post CA10s everywhere. Take pictures and send them to us. We want to see what you did. In the bathroom stalls too.
So then I'm going to use the last 5 minutes for stuff that's fun for me. All right, let's just talk about, so we're here in Chicago, and we're here in Chicago because we have a new office that's joined Federal Injury Centers. We're really excited to do that. So if you're in the Chicago area, just know that there's someone right downtown that can help you. Gini is going to post the address after this in this feed, so she'll pin it down here so anybody that wants to know where we're located, you'll get the address. It'll also be listed, obviously, on federalinjurycenters.com, so you can go to the website and find it there. And at the same time, we've also started new offices in other locations. We've got a new one coming on in South Carolina in Greenville. I'm really excited about that one. We've got offices in Seattle and Portland. We've got an office in Charlotte, North Carolina coming up. We are in talks with multiple offices in Florida. Multiple offices in Florida. Let me say that again. Multiple offices in Florida. Very excited about that. And other places too that I think it's kind of slipping my mind right now where else we're at. Oh, Maryland. That's another location that's coming up.
Ron Speakman said, love you guys. Got to go ice now. Have a great night.
All right, Ron. Take it easy.
Pam said, thank you for helping others. Ron, we don't know how Gizmo and Ellie are right now. We haven't called and checked in yet. Rich said, I want to thank you guys. I had a great time during our Zoom meeting. Would love to do it again. Looking forward to meeting you guys in person one of these days.
Anybody seen the movie Tombstone? By Wyatt Earp? Doc Holliday goes, say when.
Oh my God.
Say when.
That's for you, Rich.
Yeah.
Amber said, I injured my hand in July 2019, but continued to work until October. My claim was initially approved. When I went off work in October, my supervisor had me file a CA2A. It was denied in January 2020. Since then, I've done 3 reconsiderations and they've all been denied. I saw the doctor in Indianapolis with Federal Injury Centers. We don't have a doctor in Indianapolis.
I have a good friend in Indy that I train, but he's not a Federal Injury Centers doctor.
I'm not sure what to do. Give us a call tomorrow.
Yeah, let us see your denial letters,
yeah.
and one of us will read the letter and tell you what to do.
Holly said, you guys are great. Need a Northern New England office.
Working on it. Oh, we do have offices in Boston. That's
Yeah.
pretty New England. That's about as New England as it gets.
Everybody's talking about the puppies. Renee Marie said, to get an appeal in motion quickly, do I just have my doctor write up what happened and how it's work related? I emailed, but not sure if I'll hear back from your representative.
You will.
And my appointment is in the morning with my doctor.
Yeah, your doctor needs to write a beautiful, great, detailed narrative. That's how you get claims accepted. I would review the narrative before it goes out and make sure that it's got all the right details in it. Also, if you go to the Breaking OWCP website, you can get the form that's called, and it's in the free download section. It's called Employee Statement. I recommend that you write your own incredibly detailed statement, take it to the doctor, and make sure the doctor incorporates that statement into the narrative. Your odds of getting a claim accepted the first pass go way up if you write your own employee statement.
Regina O'Neill said, thanks for opening an office in Chicago. There are
You're welcome.
many who need the assistance.
Yeah, wish you would have made it tonight.
It's my coworker, I made it for her.
There you go. What else?
Piper said, I must have missed you answering my question. Just retype your question. Rich said, we are going to have you guys in Staten Island soon. I know I keep asking.
Rich, we're talking to doctors right now. We have 3 people in Staten Island we're talking to. These guys made me promise to put an office in Staten Island, New York, so, and I did it, so now I'm on the hook.
Gerald Adams said, hey guys, great hearing from you again. Please keep me let him know about our trip to Maryland once again. Great job. We do have a Boston address. We have the Quincy office and the Norwood office, Holly.
Which are suburbs of Boston.
Yeah. That's it so far.
All right, well, that's it. Any
Yeah.
other questions? I mean, we're going to be here when I hit stop on this thing, so we can keep talking. All right, well, everyone, thank you. Go to breakingowcp.com. Get your free forms. If you want the book also, that's great. But the forms are there to help you. I made those to solve problems that I see happen all the time. There's 5 of them there, so go get those forms. Pass them out to your friends. Get a CA10 from federalinjurycenters.com and post it everywhere. Like Jerry said, post it in the bathroom stalls too. I think that's awesome. And be sure that when you post it, you also let somebody know that it's there. Let people know, point it out, because this is new to everybody. So this is what you do when you get hurt at work. Your supervisors do not want you to have this information. They definitely don't want it posted, but the law says you can, and you need to, because if they're not going to help you, you have to be able to help yourself. And this form is a good way to start that.
Yeah, I have a couple more questions. This is directed to Dr. Archuleo. How many staff members are in the Chicago office?
10.
We have 10 employees in the Chicago office. Renee said, can we just all come work with you guys?
I hear that all the time.
Marilyn said, so I had my doctor send a note to work, then had surgery and going for another soon, and asked for reimbursement for being out. Got a letter today saying I still haven't been approved.
Was there a question in there that I was supposed to answer? Okay.
No. And then Piper said, I did have a CA1 a few years ago and didn't go to the doctor. How do I open it? Oh, that was she never went to the doctor or filed the CA1.
Okay, if you filed the CA1 on time, and you said it was a few years ago, if you filed it within 3 years, then take a copy of your CA1 to the doctor, have the doctor write a narrative report, and you can still get it started that way. No problem.
Yeah.
See, what people do wrong is they wait till past 3 years, which is, it blows me away. If you wait till past 3 years, there's nothing you can do about it. But as long as you reported within 3 years, you can always go to the doctor and get your claim approved.
Yeah. All right, guys, don't forget, if you want a Zoom meeting or if you want training with your stewards, don't forget to email me at Gini, Gini, at federalinjurycenters.com, we'll do a Zoom training for as long as you want. We did Rich's for about almost 3 hours, and it was fun.
Yeah, it was
so
fun.
we make it fun, and the stewards get a lot of training.
Oh, we didn't talk about it. St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Now, don't they make the river green here?
They did last weekend, yeah.
Last weekend, okay.
I missed it. Like one of my kids said, be sure you take a picture of that. That's not happening. So if you're out there drinking green beer, don't drive. Okay, take it easy.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week, and don't forget to share to be the winner of March's share winner and a date with Chris.
Oh my God.
Bye, everybody.
good
See you
night.
guys next week.